Hi, everybody. I'm Jack O'Neill. I'm the director of the Land Environmental Priority Area of COSIA, Canada's Oil Sands Innovation Alliance, and we are part of the Pathways Alliance. So I'm recording today from Calgary, Alberta, where it is snowing out. But I want to spend a little time to give this presentation, Collaboration through COSIA, a brief introduction to land and biodiversity. So I'm going to give you some contextual information about the oil sands, speak a little bit about collaboration, and then give some quick project examples from the Land EPA. So Canada's oil sands. Here's a nice satellite image, about 2/3 of North America. This dot here covers most of the oil sands area. Here's a blow up of that dot. So that's the, say the bitumen resource outlined area. This little purple area here is what's referred to as the mineable oil sands. A little thing about bitumen from the oil sands requires more effort to recover than conventional oil. It's very viscous. It's a heavy oil. Canada's oil sands are almost entirely underneath publicly owned land in the northern boreal forest. Well, here's a boreal forest, very important feature biome of the globe. The northern boreal forest encircles the entire planet, from Alaska all across Canada to Newfoundland, Scandinavia, and Europe, across Siberia, all the way around. Interesting thing, it's frozen for half the year, and like really frozen. It's quite chilly up there. The growing season is very limited. It's probably less than half the year would constitute the growing season. Boreal forest, the northern boreal, also includes the largest portion of fresh water on the entire planet. Complex system with lots of interactions going on. There's uplands, there's wetlands. It goes through mountainous areas. But increasingly, especially over the past 40 years or so, there's been more and more research being done to better understand the interactions and complexities of all the creatures and vegetation from the boreal forest. A little bit about the oil sands area. Quite big, 14 million hectares, 140,000 kilometers squared. There's the oil sands area. Each one of these little boxes, these little squares, is a township, about 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers for each one. Total 140,000 kilometers squared in the oil sands area. Kind of segmented into the Peace, Athabasca, Cold Lake, collectively known as the oil sands area. But how big is 14 million hectares? If you're not from northeastern Alberta, you might not know. Well, I've never been to Greece, but they tell me it's about 132,000 kilometers squared. So roughly the equivalent size of Canada's oil sands would be the country of Greece. Well, here's the oil sands area again, but within it are the actual deposits of the oil sands. Again, here's that mineable area. That's where the bitumen resource is very close to the surface of the earth, so it can be mined. Other areas, the resource is extracted in situ, in place. Most common method for doing that right now is called SAGD, steam assisted gravity drainage. That's the techniques that's used to extract the resource in these areas in which the resource is very deep underneath the surface of the earth. Pathways Alliance, the collaboration of Canada's 6 largest oil sands producers, representing about 95% of the oil sands production. We're working together to provide energy the world needs while advancing environmental innovation. That is the Pathways Alliance. COSIA, Canada's Oil Sands Innovation Alliance, formed in 2012, focused on collaborative action and innovation in oil sands environmental technology in 4 key environmental priority areas: tailings, land, greenhouse gases, and water. 2022, COSIA became part of the Pathways Alliance. How does COSIA work? 4 environmental priority areas: tailings, land, greenhouse gases, and water. Well, first of all, we rebranded within Pathways as Technology Development and COSIA. But each one of these EPAs, environmental priority areas, has a joint venture agreement, a legal document that binds all the members together independently. So tailings, land, greenhouse gases, water, 4 different JVAs, joint venture agreements. Each participating member in each one of the EPAs provides a primary and an alternate representative. Each one of those EPAs has a objective-based strategic plan. Underneath each one of these EPAs, there's working groups of subject matter expertise to plan, develop, plan, and execute projects. So projects are the fuel of COSIA. That's where the action happens, where work is done. There's 2 different types of projects. There's joint industry projects, 1 or more industry members getting together to develop a project and execute a project. So those are called JIPs. And then we have EPA-led studies that are managed from the EPA perspective. So EPA-led studies under the signature of Pathways Inc. Contracts are executed and then managed through the employees of Pathways and COSIA to the benefit of the members. So JIPs and EPA-led studies are the fuel that runs COSIA. Collaboration. What does it take? Trust, leadership, willingness to take risks. We believe that collaboration is required to meet Canada's climate commitments. No single person, company, organization has all the knowledge, skills, practices, and technologies to meet Canada's climate commitments. Therefore, we must collaborate with other folks to meet those commitments. Collaboration is intentional, it's cultural, it's challenging, it's rewarding. A little graphic here that I've been using for a long time, but it describes the difference between cooperating and collaborating. Cooperation versus collaboration. Cooperation requires mutual respect, where collaboration requires mutual trust. Cooperation requires transparency. Collaboration requires vulnerability. Shared goals versus a shared vision and values. Cooperation is independent and dependent. Collaboration is a constant state of interdependence. Short-term, long-term, sharing of ideas as a group, generation of new ideas as a group. engagement, empowerment. Leadership, line of sight, leverage, linkages, the 4 Ls. Leadership, top down, providing leadership from the tops of our organization to ensure that all the folks that work there are of the mindset of collaboration. Line of sight, making sure that what is going on in one space is understood by folks in another space. Line of sight. Leverage. Leverage models work wonders. COSIA, all our member companies, leverage model ensures that a single company does not have to go forward and get all the answers, and then another company go forward and get all the answers. Collaboratively working together, those two companies, or in COSIA's case, many companies, will leverage their money together so that not everybody has to do the same thing. COSIA also likes to leverage dollars and resources from third parties. And linkages, taking the knowledge, the skills, the technologies into practice. Land environmental priority area has a aspirational vision to be world leaders in land management, restoring the land and preserving the biodiversity of plants and animals. So the land EPA, the work falls into 3 main themes. We say wetlands, and then uplands with soils and vegetation, and biodiversity. We'll talk a little bit about some projects that fall under these themes: restoration, reclamation, and biodiversity. Restoration, one of the COSIA JIPs is the Regional Industry Caribou Collaborative, where a bunch of, COSIA members and some other external parties are collaborating for caribou conservation. Doing studies, creating knowledge to assist in caribou conservation. One of the projects we did as an EPA-led study out of the land EPA was prioritization zones for caribou habitat restoration. So here's a map. There's those little boxes again, 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers. But what this study did was identify the best places to conduct linear restoration. So caribou, woodland caribou, are not fond of fragmented landscapes, and to assist with reducing fragmented landscapes, linear programs restore habitats and aim to reduce that fragmentation. But we can't restore everything at the same time. It needs to be sequenced, and did a number of studies. This is version 4 to prioritize where the best places were to go and conduct a restoration project or program. Another interesting piece that has been done in the land EPA would be the land challenge. So trying to reduce that fragmented landscape, created a challenge to reduce the exploration footprint. And just go through a little bit of a history of the COSIA Land Challenge to reduce that exploration footprint. And the theme here is that things don't happen really quick. Sometimes they take a while to develop. So in 2012, COSIA was created. 2013, we had a CEO council that identified the woodland caribou as a very significant risk to the oil sands industry. They are in a threatened state in Alberta, Canada. The Land EPA created a caribou working group of subject matter experts to go and develop a strategy There's a recommendation that population and habitat measures would be required. Land EPA decided to create a challenge. It's been a good year with a multidisciplinary group to develop this challenge, approaching zero land disturbance exploration. 2017, that challenge was published. We established a pilot project with a vendor. That pilot project with that vendor continued in 2018, and COSIA continued to receive additional technology ideas. 2019 decided to document the state of the technology. There's a report that was created. So we had that report, and then we had a workshop. So a workshop with technology vendors to come and tell us about all the different things that they had been exploring. At the end of that workshop, we announced a challenge competition. We had the challenge issued, but now we're going to have a competition. So that competition had some prize money provided by Alberta Innovates. We worked with a clean tech accelerator, Foresight, to help us execute this this challenge competition. Second place company in the competition was OptiSize with their EcoSize technology. EcoSize or OptiSize went and partnered with the first place winner, proposed a project, and kicked it off in 2022 with all of our in situ participating members of the Land EPA. So that was great. And that project ended, and a second pilot, an in-field pilot project, kicked off in 2023. So in terms of the timescale, there's a good 10 years where we got from concept and idea of COSIA to a piloted project in the field. Onto reclamation. Lots of reclamation activity going on through the Land EPA, including the Oil Sands Vegetation Cooperative, recently renamed the COSIA Vegetation Research Committee. So they collaborate on research and seed collection, collecting all the seeds required to create the stock that will be used in reclamation in the oil sands. There's a bunch of people collecting seeds. Those seeds end up going off to nurseries to create lots of little trees that will be planted in the reclamation programs, the COSIA members, and then end up being a nice forest like that eventually. The land environmental priority area would also like to point you to this table that tracks the progress of disturbance and reclamation in the mineable oil sands. So every year there's a posting of information here that deals with the mine footprint and the plant sites of the footprint, and the amount of cleared area, the amount of area that's ready for reclamation, the amount of area within these project sites that is permanent reclaimed in the terrestrial space, and then the wetlands aquatic space. If you digest all the numbers here, roughly 10% of the land area of a mine footprint is under a reclamation regime at any one time. So there's a lot going on. The members all practice progressive reclamation, where activities are happening to support the eventual reclaimed landscape all the time. And if anyone is interested in seeing this data, you can go to this website to see it and then dissect it in many ways, shape, or forms. The another EPA-led study that's underway in the mine area would be the NSERC, COSIA Industrial Research Chair in Oil Sands Wetland Reclamation, codenamed the Boreal Wetland Reclamation Assessment Program. That website there and find out more about what's happening with that program. But essentially, it's a 6-year research program to identify or help identify what a successful reclaimed wetland actually is. Okay, so here's all the oil sands leases. I want to talk about the Early Successional Wildlife Dynamics Program. And that's a study that's looking at all the reclaimed upland sites in the mines to identify which creatures are coming back and in what abundance. So we have a disturbed landscape that's been rebuilt, and here's all the upland areas and which animals are coming back to that to those reclaimed areas. Lots of published work on that. There's also lots of species at risk right across Canada, but also in the oil sands. We have lots of projects to track and model habitat use of various species that have been identified at risk. There's a woodland caribou, toads, pileated woodpecker. Lots of different research projects to better understand what's going on with these creatures. We can make plans to support their continuance. Here's the first CRIN award for the novel land and well site reclamation area. We got the Technology Innovation Award. When I say we, COSIA did, for some virtual reality work that was done in restoration areas in the oil sands area. So good stuff. This lives on my shelf. Another thing I'd like to draw your attention to would be the Canadian Conservation and Land Management Portal, community of practice, a website, a database full of content, national in scale. So anything that happens anywhere across Canada can be uploaded here as long as it fits in with these themes of wetland knowledge, land management, and boreal caribou. More recently, an Indigenous-led conservation hub has been added to the CCLM. But COSIA Land EPA was a foundational supporter of this initiative and is the go-to place, community of practice, to gain information and knowledge on all of these topics. So, in summary, collaboration through COSIA, a brief introduction to land and biodiversity, told you a little bit about the boreal forest and Canada's oil sands, that collaboration is not cooperation. Land environmental priority areas focused on reclamation, restoration, and biodiversity. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I would be pleased to have a discussion with you and provide more details on any of the things that might have piqued your interest today. And I want to thank you and have a great rest of your day.